Let's be honest, everyone has heard of Disney. After all, they are practically the kings of animated movies, as well as the biggest studio of today, with several movies being released a year under their belt. But believe it or not, there was a time where everyone was seriously questioning whether Disney would even be able to survive the early 2000s. The early 2000s were an absolutely rough few years for this company, with them making a lot of very mixed bag movies, some gems, but a lot of misfires also. However, out of all these movies, there was one that manages to stand out the most, as not only is it so wildly different from everything else, but it also seems to be a movie that Disney wants you to forget. That's right, I'm talking about Disney's Dinosaur. Released at the start of the new millennium, Disney released this big movie simply called Dinosaur, and it follows a main iguanodon called Aladar, who must find him and his family of lemurs a new home after their island was destroyed by a meteor. However, on this journey they end up joining a herd of other dinosaurs also travelling, and so tag along with them in order to find this mysterious nesting ground, all while being hunted by two Carnos. Now, I've got to be honest, this movie is kind of special to me, because, well, I actually grew up with this movie, being a big dinosaur nerd and all. I used to watch this movie religiously as a kid, plus it was Disney, so win-win. But what really surprised me with this movie was its impact, because despite how much I enjoyed it, it has seemed to be practically forgotten by most people. Whenever people talk about some of their childhood Disney movies, this one rarely ever gets mentioned, despite being quite successful with it making $349 million at the box office. And honestly, that's kind of a shame because this movie is not that bad. A lot of you have wanted me to talk about this for a while, so while I have been recovering from the sickness, sorry guys, this is why I sound a bit off today, I decided to rewatch this movie again and see whether or not it holds up. And well, let's talk about that. First, we need to just appreciate the scale of this movie, man. The characters, the world, the music, everything in this movie just feels really epic and gigantic. This world, despite it not being very varied, apart from more deserty landscapes, actually manages to make a rather engaging world that feels really lived in. I swear, despite being 25 years old, this movie still looks absolutely gorgeous. The colours are so effective and the use of the camera here is really well done. You truly feel like you are in this world and you feel these things, which is honestly something that isn't common in a lot of movies, especially nowadays. Plus, its music, oh my god, the music! It's so good at sucking you into this world and sparking your imagination. One of my personal favourite tracks is Across the Desert. I have saved that to my own Spotify playlist because it's just absolutely marvellous.
Yeah, nerd.
But no joke, this movie's music legit deserves a listen to. Even if you're not a fan of this movie in general, go listen to its soundtrack. It's so grandiose in all the best ways. You simply cannot be disappointed by it, and if you are, I will fine you. But what about its quality? Well, the story, while predictable, honestly isn't that bad, because this movie is less about its story and more of its characters, with them being the focal point and the reason why you watch this movie. And they're pretty alright. The main characters honestly share the same thing. They're not that original or complex, but in a way, they are very charming and easy to get invested in. The real standouts here, though, are the antagonists, with all the carnivorous dinosaurs like raptors and carnotauruses being just absolute treats. And hey, a main carnivore that's not a T-Rex? Who could have thunk it? Also, yes, this movie did introduce me to my favorite dinosaur of all time, Carnotaurus, and yes, it may or may not be one of my channel's mascots, and I may enjoy drawing this dinosaur a little too much, but can you blame me? Despite them not talking, their presence in the movie says 1,000 words. Plus, the other antagonist, Kron, is actually pretty interesting, with him not only being the herd's leader, but also being Nira's brother. Although I probably could have done with a little more development there on their bond, just so the fight scene towards the end of the movie feels more impactful, but other than that, it's pretty much fine. I enjoyed it. Something that's always annoyed me though about this movie is about how everyone who's seen it calls it a Disney ripoff of The Land Before Time. It seems like almost every review on this movie on YouTube makes that comparison, and honestly, I don't understand it. The only real connection these movies have is that they're about a group of dinosaurs going to a safe place, which isn't a very original idea in of itself for Land Before Time to stake a claim to, really. And beyond that, this movie really is its own thing and can surprisingly be dark at times, like the scene where the asteroid crashes down on the Lima Island, to not only see our characters having to run for their lives while avoiding all these meteorites, but to see them be forced to stop and mourn the sudden loss of not only their home, but their family also, is so dark yet weirdly beautiful. So to just call this movie a ripoff, in my opinion, is just so unjustified. It kind of reminds me of a recent movie release with Sinners, with that movie being called a ripoff by some people to another movie, Dusk Till Dawn, which, while yeah, both movies technically have a few similarities, they're in no way the same movie, however, with each having a lot of differences that make them stand out on their own, and I feel the same applies here with Dinosaur and Land Before Time. I honestly kind of feel like this stigma has sort of defined Dinosaur, unfortunately, as since its release it has practically been abandoned by Disney, with it never being talked about again. Which is weird because you have movies from that era like Chicken Little and Treasure Planet, while different in quality, are still talked about a lot more today than Dinosaur is. So, what gives? Now, usually this would be the part where I tell you what I think the reason is behind this movie not being remembered, but I'm not going to do that here. And the reason why I'm not going to do that is because, honestly, this decision is a matter of interpretation. It's really up to you what you think happened here. There is no right or wrong answer as to how this happened. You could either think Disney were ashamed of this movie and gave up on it, or you could think nobody cared to remember it. It's really whatever you think could be the real reason here. As for me, I think this movie, while not perfect, should be talked about more because it's a very well made movie with great music, fun characters, and it's just so easy to get swept up in. It's not a forgotten masterpiece by any means, but it's definitely something I feel is worth remembering. But what do you guys think? Were you one of the few who loved this movie, or are you just now discovering it for the first time? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. I read all of your guys' comments, and I'm very interested to see what it is you guys have to say about this movie. Also, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more content just like this where I cover old movies, then be sure to like this video and subscribe. Doing so not only helps me make these videos for you, but it tells me you want more videos like this. And with that, peeps, it's been the Pink King here, and I will see you all next time.